The restaurant was already loud when Ethan arrived, but the noise felt far away, like it belonged to another world. Warm lights reflected off polished wood and glass walls. Birthday banners hung near the ceiling. He checked his phone as he slid into his chair at the long table his family had reserved. 7 empty seats surrounded him. He told himself they would walk in any minute, laughing, apologizing, making excuses about traffic. They always did things late. He ordered water. Then, another. The waiter smiled politely and asked if the rest of the party had been delayed. Ethan nodded, forcing a calm expression. Inside, a small knot formed in his stomach. His mother had insisted on this dinner. She had called twice that morning too. Remind him not to be late. Tonight is special, she had said. 30 is important. Her voice had sounded warm, almost proud. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Ethan checked the family group chat. Nothing new. He scrolled through old messages, rereading the jokes and plans from earlier in the week. His sister had suggested a cake flavor. His brother had complained about parking. Everything looked normal. That was what made the silence feel wrong. It wasn't chaos. It was absence. He looked around the restaurant. A child at the next table blew out candles while everyone clapped. A couple leaned close, sharing dessert. Laughter rose and fell like waves. Ethan sat straighter, refusing to let anyone see that he was alone on his birthday. He told himself not to overthink. Families were messy. Things happened, but another 10 minutes passed. The knot tightened. His thoughts began to race, fast and sharp. Maybe there had been an accident. Maybe his phone had no signal. He checked the bars. Full. He typed a short message to his mother, erased it, then typed again. Hey, Mum. Everything okay? We're here. He watched the screen, waiting for the typing dots to appear. Nothing. He locked the phone, unlocked it again, stared harder, as if that would force a reply. His chest felt hollow, like the air had been pulled out of him. He remembered being a kid, waiting by the window for his parents to come home, counting headlights, telling himself not to cry. The waiter returned, holding a small menu. Would you like to start with something while you wait? He asked gently. Not yet, Ethan said. His voice sounded steady, even to his own ears. He was proud of that dot finally. The phone buzzed dot. Ethan picked it up so fast his fingers slipped. The message was short. Too short. We're not coming. You know why. The words landed hard. He read them once, then again, his mind refusing to accept them. Not coming. His eyes moved over the sentence, searching for humor, for sarcasm, for a follow-up explanation that didn't exist. His heart began to pound. He typed back quickly. What are you talking about? The reply didn't come right away. Seconds stretched into something heavier. He imagined his mother on the other end, phone in hand, choosing her words carefully. That scared him more than anger would have. Another message arrived. Don't pretend. We needed space. Tonight felt right. Ethan's throat tightened. The restaurant suddenly felt too bright, too open. He lowered his head, letting his hair hide his face. His hands shook as he typed again. Space from what? Mom, I don't understand. This time, the answer came with cold certainty. You've hurt this family. You know exactly how. His breath caught. Memories flashed through his mind, fast and scattered. Arguments, small disagreements, long silences. Nothing that matched. This level of punishment. Nothing that explained why his entire family had agreed to leave him sitting alone on his birthday, waiting like a fool. He stared at the table. The empty chairs looked accusing now, lined up like witnesses. He realized this hadn't been a mistake. This had been planned. They had chosen the time. They had chosen the place. They had let him come early. Let him wait. Let the realization sink in slowly. The waiter returned, carrying a small cake with a single candle. "Compliments of the house," he said kindly. "We thought your group might like it ready when they arrive." Ethan froze. His mouth opened, then closed. For a moment he couldn't speak. Then he forced a smile that hurt his face. "Thank you," he said. "You can leave it." The candle burned quietly, its flame steady. Ethan watched it, his thoughts racing faster now. Embarrassment mixed with confusion, then shifted into something darker. His family hadn't just forgotten him. They had judged him, condemned him, and whatever crime they believed he had committed, they felt justified. His phone buzzed again. A final message from his mother. "This is for everyone's peace." That was when the hurt turned sharp. Peace. That word echoed in his mind. He thought of all the times he had stayed quiet to keep peace. The arguments he had stepped away from. The favors he had done without asking for credit. He had always been the easy one, the independent one, the one who didn't need much. And now that had made him disposable. The candle flickered. Wax dripped down the side of the cake. Ethan didn't cry. He felt too alert for that. His mind began to organize the pain, lining it up, turning it into questions. Who had started this? Who had convinced the others? What story had been told about him when he wasn't there to defend himself? He paid the bill without touching the cake. As he stood, he glanced once more at the empty chairs. 30 years of family memories pressed down on him all at once, heavy and suffocating. Birthdays, holidays, shared meals. He realized how fragile they all were, how easily they could be erased with a single message. Outside, the night air was cold. Ethan walked to his car, each step steady, controlled. His reflection stared back at him from the dark window. He barely recognized himself. The man looking back seemed older than he had that morning, harder around the eyes. He sat behind the wheel but didn't start the engine. His phone rested in his lap. Silent now. The confusion had faded, replaced by something clearer and more dangerous. A sense of being wronged, of being pushed out without a trial, of being judged without a voice. As he drove away, one thought followed him, sharp and unrelenting. If his family believed he was capable of betrayal, then they had no idea what they had just started. The days after the birthday passed in a strange blur. Ethan went to work, answered emails, smiled when required, and spoke when spoken to. From the outside, nothing looked broken. Inside, his thoughts never stopped moving. The message from his mother replayed in his mind again and again, each time cutting deeper. He wanted clarity, not comfort. He needed to know what crime he had been found guilty of. He sent one calm message to the family group chat. "I don't understand what I've done. Please explain." No anger, no blame, just truth. The message sat there, unread, for hours. When it was finally seen, no one replied. The silence felt deliberate, like a door quietly locked from the other side. Ethan started calling instead. His sister's phone went straight to voicemail. His brother didn't answer. When he tried his mother, the call rang until it stopped. No follow-up, no explanation. That hurt more than shouting would have. It told him they had already decided the story, and his version was not needed. The first clue came 3 days later, by accident. Ethan ran into his aunt at a grocery store. She looked surprised to see him, then uneasy. Small talk turned stiff. When Ethan asked how everyone was, she hesitated too long. That pause said more than words. "I thought you two had talked," she said carefully. "Talked about what?" Ethan asked. She frowned. "About your brother's job. The situation at the firm." Ethan felt his chest tighten. What situation? His aunt realized too late that she had stepped into something deeper. She tried to back away, but the damage was done. After a long, awkward moment, she spoke quietly. "They think you made a call. That you used your old connections to block him." The world seemed to tilt. Ethan stared at her, stunned. "That's not true." "I know," she said quickly. "At least, I don't believe it is. But others do." Ethan left the store without finishing his shopping. In his car, the pieces began to connect. His brother had applied for a promotion at the same company Ethan had left years ago. When the promotion fell through, frustration had turned into suspicion. Suspicion had turned into blame. And blame had found an easy target. Ethan had always been the one who left. The one who built his own life. Distance made him mysterious. And mystery, he realized, made lies easier to believe. He went home and opened his laptop, scrolling through old emails and timelines, searching for proof that he hadn't interfered. He found plenty: dates, resignation letters, messages showing he had no contact with the firm anymore. The truth was solid. But truth didn't matter if no one wanted to hear it. As the days passed, more details surfaced through indirect comments and half-spoken remarks. His brother had told their parents that Ethan had always been jealous, that he liked being the successful one, that he couldn't stand the idea of his younger sibling catching up. None of it matched who Ethan believed himself to be. Yet the story spread easily, shaped by old resentments and quiet comparisons. Ethan thought about their childhood. He had been the responsible one, the example. His brother had been the favorite, the one protected from consequences. Maybe this accusation wasn't really about a job. Maybe it was about years of competition that had never been spoken out loud. At night, anger began to replace confusion. Not loud anger, but focused anger. The kind that thinks. The kind that plans. Ethan knew things about his family. Not secrets meant to hurt, but truths they preferred to ignore. Financial choices. Stories told differently depending on who was listening. He had helped cover mistakes, given advice, signed papers, stayed silent when it was easier. All of it had been done in good faith. Now, that loyalty felt foolish. He imagined what would happen if he stopped protecting them. If he corrected the record publicly. If he let the truth fall where it may. The idea brought a sharp sense of balance, almost relief. They had punished him without proof. Why should he continue to shield them? But another thought followed close. Behind. If he did that, the damage would be permanent. There would be no return to normal. No quiet repair. Revenge promised power, but it demanded sacrifice. Ethan's mother, meanwhile, believed she was doing the right thing. In her mind, Ethan's distance had always felt like judgment. She saw his silence as arrogance, his independence as rejection. When her younger son came to her, angry and hurt, she didn't question him as deeply as she should have. She wanted to protect what felt fragile. Choosing a side felt easier than questioning everyone. Ethan's brother felt justified too. Failure had embarrassed him. Admitting he wasn't ready for the promotion felt worse than believing someone had sabotaged him. Blame gave him dignity. It turned disappointment into injustice. None of them saw themselves as cruel. They saw themselves as wounded. That was the hardest part for Ethan to accept. He spent long evenings pacing his apartment, replaying every interaction, every favor, every compromise. His desire for revenge grew slowly, fed by the unfairness of it all. He didn't want to destroy them. He wanted acknowledgement. He wanted them to feel what he felt sitting alone in that restaurant. One night, he stood by the window. City lights, glowing below. He imagined confronting them, laying out facts, forcing apologies. He imagined silence breaking, guilt rising. The picture felt satisfying, but also empty. It wouldn't give him back what he had lost. Still, the urge remained. They had taken his place in the family without a conversation. They had rewritten his role. And now, he stood at a crossroads, caught between proving his innocence and punishing their betrayal. As the truth settled in, one thing became clear. This wasn't just about a missed birthday. It was about trust being broken, loyalty being dismissed, and a man realizing that the people who knew him longest might never have truly seen him at all. The opportunity came quietly, almost politely, which made it more dangerous. Ethan learned about the family gathering from a cousin who still spoke to him in careful tones. A celebration was planned at his parents' house. Not a holiday, not a birthday, something practical. Papers would be signed. Decisions finalized. The kind of meeting where people felt safe, because they believed all risks were already removed. They believed Ethan was gone. That night, Ethan sat at his desk with documents spread in front of him. Old emails, signed agreements, legal papers, tied to a financial decision his parents had made years ago, one that still carried his name. He had been included because he was trusted, because he was responsible, because he wouldn't cause trouble. Those papers gave him power now. If he wanted, he could stop everything with a single move. Delay the sale, force questions, pull the family into a legal mess that would expose arguments, mistakes, and lies. It would not be loud revenge. It would be clean, controlled, undeniable. He leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. His heart beat fast, but his thoughts were clear. This was not a fantasy anymore. This was a real choice. Ethan dressed simply that evening. No effort to impress. No effort to hide. As he drove toward his parents' house, every memory seemed sharper. The road he had driven 1,000 times. The turns he could make without thinking. Yet tonight, everything felt unfamiliar, like he was returning to a place that no longer belonged to him. He parked across the street and watched the house. Lights glowed warmly through the windows. Shadows moved inside. Laughter escaped when the door opened briefly. They looked comfortable, whole, untouched by the damage they had caused. His phone buzzed. Message from his mother appeared on the screen. It wasn't meant for him. I hope this teaches him something. Ethan stared at the words. His jaw tightened. That sentence did what weeks of silence had not. It confirmed that the pain had been intentional, that the night of his birthday had not been confusion or miscommunication. It had been a lesson. Something hardened inside him. He stepped out of the car and walked toward the house. Each step felt heavy but steady. When he rang the bell, the sound cut through the laughter inside. Voices paused. Footsteps approached. The door opened. His mother froze when she saw him. Her face drained of color, eyes wide with shock. Behind her, the room went silent. His brother stood near the table, tense, arms crossed. Others looked away, unsure whether to greet him or pretend he wasn't there. Ethan stepped inside without waiting for permission. No one spoke. The silence was thick, uncomfortable. He could feel every eye on him, measuring his mood, waiting for anger. But Ethan didn't shout. "I'm not here to fight," he said calmly. His voice surprised even him. I'm here because you made a decision about me without letting me speak. His mother swallowed. This isn't the time, she said weakly. It is, Ethan replied. You chose the time for me. He turned to his brother. You think I hurt you? You think I blocked your promotion? I didn't. I left that company. Years ago. I have no influence there. None. His brother looked away. That's not what I was told. By who? Ethan asked. No answer came. Ethan took a breath. His hands were steady now. You didn't ask me. You didn't check. You just decided I was guilty. His mother stepped forward. We needed peace, she said. Your behavior, your distance, it made things worse. Ethan nodded slowly. Distance isn't a crime. Silence isn't sabotage. He reached into his bag and pulled out the documents. The sound of paper felt loud in the quiet room. He placed them on the table. These protect you, he said, looking at his parents. They allow this sale to happen without problems. I could stop it. I could force explanations. I could make tonight very different. The room shifted. Fear flickered across faces. For the first time, they saw him not as the absent son, but as someone with real power. But I'm not here to do that, Ethan continued. I won't punish you the way you punished me. I won't pretend this didn't hurt. And I won't protect lies anymore. His mother's eyes filled with tears. So what do you want? She asked. Ethan felt the weight of the moment settle on him. This was it. The edge. The point where revenge would turn into action or disappear forever. I want you to understand, he said. Not apologize out of fear. Not fix this because it's uncomfortable. Understand what it meant to sit alone on my birthday, because you believed a story instead of your son. No one moved. No one interrupted. Ethan picked up the documents again and held them out to his mother. I'm still giving these to you, he said. Because I won't become what you think I am. She took them with shaking hands. I'm done explaining myself, Ethan added. If you want me in your life, it has to be with honesty. If not, that's your choice. He turned toward the door. Ethan, his brother said quietly. Ethan paused but did not turn around. I didn't know, his brother admitted. I needed someone to blame. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. Then he nodded once. That's the truth, he said. And that's enough for tonight. He walked out of the house without looking back. The night air hit his face, cool and sharp. His hands trembled slightly now that it was over. Not from fear, but from release. As he drove away, he realized something unexpected. The power he thought would come from revenge had already passed through him. And he had chosen not to hold on to it. The days after the confrontation felt strangely quiet. Not peaceful, not empty, just still. Ethan woke up each morning expecting regret to hit him like a wave, but it didn't. What came instead was a calm heaviness, like a storm that had already passed and left. The air changed. His phone stayed mostly silent. No long apologies. No dramatic messages. His mother sent a short text 2 days later. I've been thinking. Nothing more. Ethan didn't reply. For the first time, he wasn't afraid of silence. He had lived in it long enough to understand its shape. At work, he focused better than he had in weeks. Tasks felt clear. Conversations felt lighter. The weight he had been carrying since his birthday no longer pressed on his chest. He realized that the need for revenge had been tied to his need to be seen. Once he spoke his truth, that hunger weakened. His brother reached out. First, a simple message. I was wrong. I don't expect forgiveness. Ethan read it several times. The words felt honest, but incomplete. He didn't respond right away. Forgiveness, he learned, was not a switch. It was a process, and he wasn't ready to rush it for anyone's comfort. His mother's message came later that week. Longer this time. She admitted she had believed the accusation because it fit her fears. She wrote about feeling like she was losing him long before the birthday. She didn't excuse her actions, but she didn't fully own them either. The apology sat somewhere in the middle, careful and unsure. Ethan felt no satisfaction reading it, just clarity. He understood now that revenge would not have healed this. If he had used the documents to hurt them, the damage would have locked everyone into their worst version of themselves. He would have won, but he would have carried the cost. Instead, he chose distance. He stopped chasing conversations that led nowhere. He stopped explaining himself to people who had already judged him once. When family gatherings happened without him, he no longer checked social media to see who attended. He filled his time with things that made him feel grounded. Morning walks, cooking meals slowly, reconnecting with friends who never questioned his worth. On his next birthday, he did something different. He didn't plan a big event. He didn't wait for confirmations. He took a day off work, turned his phone off, and drove out of the city. He sat by the water with a coffee and watched the sun rise. For the first time in years, the day felt like it belonged to him. Messages came later, some kind, some awkward. His mother sent a short, "Happy birthday." His brother sent nothing. Ethan noticed, acknowledged the feeling, and let it pass. Night, as he sat alone, he thought about revenge again, not as temptation, but as a question. What had it promised him? Justice, balance, control. He realized revenge had never been about hurting them. It had been about proving he mattered. And he no longer needed proof. Weeks turned into months. The family relationship remained fragile, uneven. Some days were quiet, other days carried tension. Ethan learned to accept that healing did not mean returning to how things were. Some breaks change the shape of everything that follows. One evening his mother called. Her voice sounded soft or tired. She asked how he was. Really asked. Ethan answered honestly, without anger, without performance. They spoke for 10 minutes. No accusations, no defenses, just careful truth. When the call ended, Ethan felt something close to peace. He understood that forgiveness did not mean forgetting. It meant choosing not to let pain control the future. His family might never fully understand what they took from him that night at the restaurant. But he did. And that knowledge gave him power they could not touch. Revenge would have kept him tied to that table, those empty chairs, that unanswered waiting. Walking away had freed him from it. Ethan looked forward now. Not because everything was fixed, but because he was. He had faced betrayal and stood at the edge of vengeance. He had felt its pull, its promise, and he had learned its truth. Revenge does not restore what was lost. It only changes who you become. By choosing restraint, Ethan chose himself. And in the end, that choice was enough.